Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome back to another video. We are going to be touching on the brand new electric dirt bike that Talaria just announced last night, the Talaria Dragon. I literally just made a video on this not even 10 hours ago because they just announced it, but we finally got some specifications on it, so we're going to be talking about in this video. We got a whole entire list of specifications about the bike straight from Talaria. So without further delay, guys, this bike looks freaking insane. Let's get into it. So guys, the video that you're watching right now is of me racing my Surron Ultra B, and this is important because this is the bike that the Talaria Dragon is going to be competing against. We got first place in this race. I absolutely love my Ultra B, but I gotta say, after reading all these notes and all these specifications of this new bike, this thing looks like it's going to be a monster of an e-bike. I haven't heard of a final price point for the bike yet, but if Talaria can nail the price on this thing just right, this bike will dominate this space in the e-bike world. So guys, without any further delay, let's get in and break down the specifications of the Talaria Dragon. I'm going to be breaking these specifications down in sections, and I obviously want to talk about the exciting stuff of the bike first. And the first thing we're going to touch on is the weight of the Talaria Dragon. So the Talaria Dragon is going to come in at 220 pounds with the battery installed. Now, the Surron Ultra B that I'm riding right now, I believe the normal weight of the bike stock is 187 pounds. I've added about 14 pounds onto it with my battery upgrade and my wheels, so I'm like at 210 pounds. So the Talaria Dragon is going to weigh north about 19 pounds of my upgraded Ultra B. So it is getting into gas bike territory when it comes to weight. So it is a pretty significant weighing bike. It's not crazy heavy, but it's also not light. Next up, guys, we are going to talk about speed for the bike. So the Talaria Dragon is going to clock in at 68.3 miles per hour, which is fantastic. Now, this bike is going to be geared towards single track riding like the Surron Ultra B is. So 99% of the time, you won't need a top speed like this, but it is much better to need the power and have it rather than need the power and not have it. Woo! We also got a lot more info on the battery pack that's going to be coming in this bike. So the Dragon is going to be rocking an 88 60.5 amp hour battery. This is a huge battery and one of the biggest ones that I've seen come in a stock bike. This is how the bike's going to get up to that 70 miles an hour that we just mentioned, and it should give us insane amount of torque and range. And speaking of range, guys, the range on the Dragon is going to be an impressive 93.2 miles. And all of you guys know where I stand on this. There's no way the range on this bike is actually going to be 93.2 miles an hour, at least not realistically. They do emphasize in the specifications that the 93.2 miles an hour is at 15 miles an hour, so it's not really a realistic speed. Most of you guys already know how I feel about this. Whenever a company gives you a range for these kinds of bikes, you always take that range number and cut it in half. And that's much more of a realistic range number at a realistic pace. So while I can tell you from experience that you're not going to get 93.2 miles of range riding single track through the woods at a good pace, or at all, even if we were to take that 93 miles and cut it in half like I suggest, that's still 45.5 miles of range cut in half, which is super good range for a bike like this. Jesus. Next up, guys, is power. The Talaria Dragon is going to have a peak power, you're not going to believe this, a peak power of 28 kilowatts. It's like, what? I had to I looked at that probably for 10 seconds before it finally processed. That is almost 3 times as strong as this Ultra B that I'm riding right now. This Ultra B has a peak power of 12.5 kilowatts. You could race this Dragon against 300s. It also has 630 Newton meters of torque at the rear wheel. To put that into perspective, that's 464 foot-pounds of torque. Should this thing even exist? I don't know what they're smoking over at Talaria, but I gotta get me some. I should also point out that once again, Talaria is going to be utilizing a gearbox setup instead of a belt drive setup. A lot of guys prefer the gearbox system on the Talaria R. It's just way less maintenance than a belt, and the gearbox shouldn't break on you like a belt can during a ride. So guys, we are trickling into the last little topics that I want to touch on for the bike. So one of the last ones are the charge time for the bike is going to run you 4 hours. The modes that you can cycle through are Eco, Sport, and Hyper mode. I also hope that they have a reverse button because I've really come to love the reverse button on my Ultra B. One of my personal favorites, we are finally, thank the Lord, getting 1821 wheel setup on a stock bike. We have real motocross suspension, front and rear. You're going to have 250 millimeters of travel in the front, 90 millimeters in the rear, and we're going to be using a big boy 520 chain. So guys, that's pretty much all the information I want to talk about for the Talaria Dragon. This bike is turning out to be a monster in the e-bike world, and I'm excited to see it released and see other people ride it and see their reactions. So guys, let me know what you think down below. Do you like the bike? Do you hate it? Do you think the Ultra B is going to come out on top, or do you think the Talaria Dragon is going to come out on top? Personally, I just like to see the healthy competition in between these two companies, because at the end of the day, it's just going to be the customers getting better and better bikes, and the community's growing, and the entire sport is gaining traction as a whole. So that's really what I'm taking out of this, is that these bikes are just getting better and better and better, and it doesn't really matter what company they're from. It's the fact that the electric bike world is gaining traction, and it's gaining traction quite quickly. So I'm really happy. That's one of the reasons that I'm just so giddy about this, is because the electric bike world is just really taking off now. So again, let me know what you guys think down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.